Marius,
Hi,
welcome
Christelle.
back.
Yes, nice seeing you
Um,
again.
so today we are talking about VAT. Before we talk about
Yes.
VAT, I've had a question from somebody who says, if I want to become an accountant, what qualifications do I need? So let's start off with yours. Like, what was your academic route to get to where we are today?
Yeah, sure. That's a very interesting question. Um, yeah, I actually first wanted to become an auditor, but when I started working as an intern, I realized that my passion is more for small businesses and financial accounting. So then I went a different route, which is called the professional accountant route in South Africa. But you have to go and study. You have to have at least a BCom degree, then do 3 years articles, and then you write a final exam, and then you can become a registered professional accountant in South Africa. There's also some other great institute in South Africa. One is the SAICA, which is for the chartered accountants in South Africa. Then the CIMA, which is for management accountants. And that's something I'm even considering myself to do in future to build my expertise and knowledge. And then there's some other ones, smaller institutes, but they all work in a similar way. You have to have at least a BCom degree. For chartered accountants, they must have an honors degree as well. And then you need to do articles or have at least some sort of practical experience to be able to qualify as an accountant and to become as a registered at one of the professional institutes in South Africa. Myself, I do have my BCom degree. I have an honors degree in financial accounting. And then while I was doing my articles as a professional accountant, I also completed my master's degree in tax. Yeah.
Sure, the little brain box we've got here.
Yes.
so in terms of professional designation, what do you call
Profess
yourself?
my professional designation. I'm a professional accountant in South Africa.
Right, right.
My institute is called SAIPA, which stands for the South African Institute of Professional Accountants. And then I'm also registered with SAIT, which stands for the South African Institute of Tax Practitioners.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, cool. So to whomever asked that question, I hope this gives you the right guidance and good luck with your studies going forward.
Hope so, yeah.
Okay, so Marius, VAT.
Yes. That.
We all
Oof.
hate paying it. We all hate everything about VAT. When do
Yes.
we have to register for VAT?
Okay. So you got a few options with VAT. It's compulsory to register for VAT if your turnover is more than R1 million in a 12-month period. It's not specifically just a specific calendar year or a specific financial year according to your company or whatever, but it's determined by SARS. If you're making consecutive 83,000 Rand or more for the 3 months period, they will then say, but you will be making more than R1 million in the next 12 months. And then you have to register for that. Then it's a compulsory registration. You don't have a choice. You do, however, have an option to voluntarily register if your turnover is between 50,000 or 1 million Rand during a 12-month period or a financial year or so forth. Then you have the voluntary option to do that. Also get asked the question a lot, why do I want to do that? Well, it does give you, I would always recommend it does give you a bit more credibility, especially if you start working with corporate companies and other companies that's VAT registered. It gives you that credibility that you also VAT registered because I can claim that from the purchasing that I'm doing from your company. So you might also get tenders because you're VAT registered. So there is advantages of being VAT registered. And then you're not allowed to be VAT registered if your turnover is less than 50,000 Rand. So then you just don't need to do that. Don't worry about that. Yeah, I hope that
Okay.
answers the question.
Um, well, it certainly answers the question of when a person should consider or should
Yeah.
register for VAT. How does the VAT how does VAT work? If I charge you 100 Rand for something and I'm
Yes.
VAT registered, I now have to charge you 115 Rand,
Yes.
correct? And that
That's correct.
15
Yeah.
Rand I have to pay over to SARS.
Technically, yes, you have to pay over that 15 Rand, but and that's where sometimes you don't notice, but there's some admin that needs to be done as well. So if you are VAT registered, you are allowed to claim what we call input VAT. So the 15 Rand VAT that you pay over is called output VAT, but then you are allowed to claim input VAT. And input VAT is when you, let's say, for example, you're paying your accountant or advertising company for some services, and they VAT registered and they charge you, let's say, 50 Rand to do that work. You then pay maybe 57 Rand 50, and then you're allowed to deduct 7 Rand 50 from the 15 Rand output VAT that you have to pay over, and you actually then just pay the balance over to source. So you then pay the 7 Rand 50 that's left from the 15 Rand minus the 7 Rand 50. So you just pay the balance over to source.
So if I am VAT registered, it would actually be to my benefit to deal with other companies who are VAT registered.
That's correct, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so that gives that then makes me understand why you say companies prefer to deal with that, and it gives you more credibility.
Yes.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense. So, without getting into complicated formulas and stuff, is it as simple as I take all the VAT that I paid out, all the VAT that I've got in, minus the one from the other, or is it specific services and specific things that I need to think about?
There is specific services and things to think about, but it is a very simple calculation if you purely like a retail business and you're mainly focusing your business in South Africa, your calculation is not going to be too difficult. But there is certain things that you're not allowed to deduct. For example, um, if you buy coffee, tea, and things like that for your staff at work, it's seen as staff welfare, and staff welfare you're not allowed to deduct the VAT on that staff welfare. So there's certain things that you're not always allowed to deduct, and you need to have that expertise in doing that. Even having a coffee with a client at a restaurant, that's entertainment. You're not allowed to claim the VAT on that entertainment bill. But then also, if you're exporting, your export is taxed at 0%. So there's some advantage of becoming an export company as well, because you don't pay tax when you're selling to companies in international countries. So I think depending on how your company is set up, how your business is run, it can be a very simple calculation thing to be done, or it can become a very complicated thing that be done. And that's where having a system like Sage or QuickBooks or Xero actually can help you with that as well, because those packages are set up, they have all the VAT certain categories in South Africa, and they can make your VAT calculations just so much easier. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So again, I'm going to say to you that I find this quite intimidating. I want to focus on running my business. I want to do fun stuff.
Yes, and that's
um,
why GoMap is there. So we help you focus on the business, and we do the other stuff for you.
exactly. So the calculation of the VAT, would that be something that is just part and parcel of your services? So if I use a professional accountant on a monthly basis, they would calculate my VAT, input VAT, my output VAT, and what needs to be paid. How
Yes,
often
yeah.
does it get paid over?
The norm in South Africa is every second month. So there's different periods that SARS works on. So for example, you have a VAT period, which we call this the even months period. So you have a VAT period for January and February, which is 2 months, and then you have to pay your VAT in March. So you pay your VAT always the following 2-month period. Or you might have a VAT period for February and March, then you pay your VAT in April. So again, it's the second. So it depends what category SARS puts you in at the end of the day, where you need to register it. But then for the bigger companies, I know most of the town square companies won't really be that, but once a company makes 50 million turnover a year, they actually pay on a monthly basis VAT. And then I know the agriculture world, they have the option of paying every 6 months periods. But most small to medium businesses in South Africa are on the 2-month period, depending on which category SARS put you in. Yeah.
Sure, thank you. That was quite a mouthful,
Yes.
but you certainly have highlighted some VAT stuff for me, and I understand that better. So thank you
Yeah.
very much. Um,
Pleasure.
the next session we're going to chat about your passion which is
Yes, yeah,
the mapping, go map your business. So
yeah.
I look forward to that. And
Cool, me
I will
too.
see you then.
See you then. Thanks, Chriselle.
Bye.
Um,